Good evening, and thank you for joining us here online on this Super Tuesday. I'm Craig O'Neill alongside Lance Turner with Arkansas Business on a night of election results rolling in. And Lance, first of all, thank you for being here.
Hey, it's good to be here. A lot of good stuff happening tonight.
Oh, yeah, and TV11 has team coverage to cover it all in Central Arkansas. David Lippman in the River Market, where Democrat supporters have been watching results, and Roley Hoyt downtown with Republican supporters tonight. Yes, they do have something to cheer about. Many races, but of course, all eyes on the presidential primary, Lance.
That's right, yeah, and we've got some results in. In fact, the Associated Press has just called Arkansas for Joe Biden. Joe Biden right now with 12% of precincts reporting in Arkansas, 29%. Bernie Sanders, 22%. Michael Bloomberg, 20%. Elizabeth Warren, 11%. Of course, Pete Buttigieg backed out over the weekend. Of these candidates that we see here, only the top three are considered to be viable. You had to win 15% of the vote in a state to get a proportion or to get some of those delegates.
Right.
And so that we will see that it's likely that probably Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Michael Bloomberg will walk away with a few of Arkansas's 31 delegates tonight.
In Michael Bloomberg's case, it's buyable, not viable.
That's very good.
Everything's viable.
I wish I had thought of that because, yes, Michael Bloomberg spent probably $4.5 to $5 million in Arkansas on advertising alone. Far and away the biggest spender in this state, and far and away the biggest spender in others, frankly, just because of how he's run his campaign. And we're starting to see how that is paying off. I'm not sure if the return on investment is what he would like to have seen, but he is getting something, at least in Arkansas.
Well,
and a couple
he's
other
getting
states
something back, that's for sure. But let's see what the Democrats in Arkansas are saying about what has developed tonight. And no better to check in than with David Lippman, who is at the headquarters live.
All right, thank you very much, Craig. I'm here joined now by State Representative Tippy McCullough, who initially endorsed Amy Klobuchar, but then through her support behind Joe Biden. What drew you to first Amy Klobuchar and then Joe Biden?
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to pick a candidate using my head and my heart. Wanted to look at everything. I thought that Amy was very effective in her work as a senator. She'd never lost an election in Minnesota. They had turned congressional seats. They had taken back over the House in Minnesota. She won all the congressional districts when she ran, and I thought that was a good indication of how she might do in a general election and how she would help us in the Midwest. Love her sense of humor, and just agreed with most of the things that she said. Of course, yesterday after she dropped out, and I thought that her and Pete both did a great thing in putting their support behind Joe Biden. And, that was good enough for me. Obviously, Joe Biden's been a great patriot for years, and I'm a great admirer of his work with President Obama. And obviously, he's got the dignity and the respect and the experience to do a great job.
And what do you think it says about Arkansas as a general voting body that it also supported Joe Biden?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've thought all along. I've thought that the type of candidates that Arkansas would be for would be Joe, would be Amy, maybe Pete. I know all of my friends, we've been split all over the place. I know in my district, everybody's been split all over the place. So I knew that Joe would do well in Arkansas, but I also had hopes that Amy would too. But anyway, that's how it worked out, and I think Joe's just gained momentum, and I think that's helped him in Arkansas also. And I always say once Amy was out of it, my great friend Representative Jamie Scott, I went from Amy to Jamie, who's a big supporter of Biden, and we've tried to support each other, and so that's been a natural fit for me.
All right, Representative McCullough, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Giving us a little perspective from the other side of the spectrum tonight, our own Roley Hoyt is live at State Supreme Court watch party. Roley?
Yeah, David, a lot more low-key at this Republican gathering. It's not a Republican party because the state Supreme Court is a nonpartisan affair. This is the watch party for Barbara Webb running for that spot on the state Supreme Court. But a lot of Republicans in the state tonight are again, playing it low-key, but also content to watch as the Democratic race unfolds. For an idea of that, State Senate President Jim Hendren tweeted out earlier tonight as the results started to roll Biden's way and against Bernie Sanders. He tweeted out, "It looks like the South is not much for use for socialism. "You're welcome, America." That from Senator Hendren earlier tonight. And as Arkansas has now gone towards Joe Biden as well, continuing that role. But when it comes to races that Republicans have been focusing on, it has been the state Supreme Court race. Barbara Webb is the wife of the GOP state chairman, Doyle Webb. It injected some partisanship into the race against Chip Welch, and that did bring some rancor to it. But as the votes have started to come in, what we're seeing is Webb with a lead of about 5 to 6 percentage points at this point, and there are still a lot of Republican strongholds in the northwest part of the state who have to send in their results. So it's looking positive, according to the people that I talked to here a little while ago, for Ms. Webb to take, or Judge Webb to take that spot on the high court bench. The other thing that people are watching for tonight is the turnout. That was going to be key to this race for the Supreme Court, as well as what it might bode for November. We're seeing a lot of votes, even though Donald Trump was largely running unopposed. A lot of people still showed up and filed and cast Republican ballots today, and it's all signs pointing to that we're not likely to see much change when we get to the general election come back in November. We'll keep an eye on this state Supreme Court race and other races around the state as they come in tonight. For now, we'll send things back to you guys in the studio. Craig and Lance.
I think one of the most interesting statistics that CBS has put up is how many people who waited to the last minute went to Biden.
That's right, yeah.
And it was interesting, just 10 days ago, I covered the Amy Klobuchar rally, which Tippy referred to in that interview that David Lippman had. And most everybody I talked to, I said, "Are you shopping or are you here to cheer for Amy Klobuchar?" Mm-hmm. And most everybody said, "We're shopping."
That's right.
The indication being that when Biden got a touch of momentum coming out, not a touch, it was more of a ray of momentum coming out of South Carolina, everybody went that way.
You know, there was not really a consensus among Democratic leaders in Arkansas as to who to go for. I mean, you'd see different wings and different endorsements coming from different parts of the party. There was never really any early on indication that they all might move one way or the other until Biden won South Carolina, and I think proved that he could maybe continue to win.
You had Mark Pryor, you had Blanche Lincoln, you had Vic Snyder.
That's
at the
right.
Amy Klobuchar rally, 3 prominent Arkansas Democrats. You know that tonight they're Biden.
That's right.
They're in
That's
the
right.
Biden camp.
Yeah.
Another thing we're watching, Lance, is in Polk County, how they're going to divvy up the money for the casino. Now, the results are coming in very slowly, early, so we will be keeping track of that. Also, District 31 in the Republican primary, this is for House District 31.
Right.
In West Little Rock, in the Ferndale area. You've got Keith Brooks, who's an insurance man in Saline County, going against R.J. Hawk, who you have heard on the radio on The Buzz.
That's right.
He's been a terrific fundraiser, by the way, in this election.
That's right.
And he has a slight lead over Keith Brooks, but again, it is early.
It's shaping up to be a close one there, 51 to 49%, with just 20 some odd percent reporting there. You know, you got to think R.J. Hawk's name recognition helps him. Not only is he on the radio, but he's also on the Bryant City Council. So this is not his first rodeo in terms of elections. And this is a race too, I think, where both candidates really, there's not a lot of daylight between them in terms of policy. Both are kind of wait and see on Arkansas Works and whatever issues arise around the reauthorization of that. And so in terms of issues, they're pretty close together. So it'll just be interesting to see who can come out of that race.
I've been introduced to R.J. Hawk before, and he's very involved in the community. So you just knew that carried over into politics. This brings us to one that you told us to watch out for, and I am fascinated by it. Senate District 21. Now, this is not in the immediate central Arkansas area. This is up in northwest Arkansas.
Right.
But this is almost a qualifier, if you will, for Asa. This is a test of Asa Hutchinson's ability to sway voters.
It is, and he's been pretty good at that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a pretty good track record of that. But this is in the Jonesboro area. This is Paul Bookout's old seat, in fact. This is John Cooper, the incumbent Republican in that area, facing a challenge from the right from Dan Sullivan, a state representative who's seeking this Senate seat in the Jonesboro area. This is a key race for Governor Asa Hutchinson, who campaigned with and for John Cooper last week in Jonesboro. John Cooper has been a reliable vote for the Arkansas Works Medicaid expansion program, and that is all important to the governor's office and to the governor's budget in terms of keeping that going. And Dan Sullivan has indicated that he is not he's not exactly a fan of Arkansas Works, and there's some other issues at play there too. I think there's some gun rights issue. There's some talk over a vote about red flag laws that John Cooper voted against a red flag law, and that earned him a bad rating with the NRA. So Dan Sullivan is capitalizing on that. So you've got a really interesting race shaping up in Northeast Arkansas that does have overall implications for the legislature and the Arkansas Works reauthorization, which is very important.
It's going to come up again, isn't it?
It comes
every
up every
legislature
time,
since 2010
That's right.
has contended with it.
That's
and
right.
It has not been settled yet.
Yes.
Fascinating. All right, one more quick one. This one's in Senate District 27, Southeast Arkansas. This involves Calhoun County, most of Union County, half of Jefferson County at least. Keidra Burrell, who is from New Orleans, moved to Pine Bluff, has become a lawyer and community activist, and she's going against Gary Smith, who's an economics professor, adjunct professor,
right,
but also a small business owner in Camden. This one's interesting for what reason?
Well, there are some precincts in Pine Bluff that have had some voting errors in terms of errors on the ballots. And so the Burrell campaign asked for a state monitor to come monitor this election and monitor the operations in some of those Pine Bluff precincts to make sure everything goes well tonight. So there's been some voter irregularities, there's been some ballot errors in that area, and there's state monitors there tonight monitoring those returns to make sure it goes well. So that's a race we watch in terms of making sure that things are going smoothly at the voting places tonight.
Lance and I have hit the highlights. If you want to follow a particular race, you can text the word results to 501-376-1111, and we'll get you the results of the races you're interested in. Text the word results to 501-376-1111. Thank you for watching us online. Of course, CBS is covering all this. They've just proclaimed that Biden will carry Arkansas in the Democratic presidential primary. We'll be back at 10 o'clock on THV 11 with more votes to talk about as more votes roll in. Again, thank you for watching.